So SEO and GEO. GEO is basically like the generative AI engine optimization. So there's a lot of talks now with the importance of like schema markups. So you got to make sure that when you're updating your content frequently, like the schema markups are kind of interpreting that too. So then you can be a part of the an output in some of these sort of like AI models that they have out there.
Welcome to The Brand Behavior, where we dive deep into the latest marketing trends and strategies to help your brand grow. I'm your host, Juntae DeLane, and today we're tackling a question that's on every marketer's mind. It's how do we strike that perfect balance between SEO and paid ads? Well, we'll explore the synergies, trade-offs, and data-driven approaches to crafting a winning digital marketing strategy. And to help us navigate this complex landscape, we have two brilliant minds joining us today. So let's welcome our guest. First up, Daniel Stanica, founder of Competico Agency. Daniel is an expert in leveraging data to understand consumers, competitors, and optimizing digital marketing strategies as well. How you doing, Daniel?
Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm great, and I cannot wait to talk more about SEO and about data and how you can leverage this to increase the ROI.
All right, let's do it. And we also have on our panel today is Patrick Hodgson. He is the head of performance marketing for account teams at AdMax Local. Patrick brings years of experience in balancing paid and organic strategies to drive measurable results. Patrick, how are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself, Jonte? I'm
Uh,
ready to rock and roll.
Likewise, I'm ready to rock and roll as well. So let's get in. But before we dive into our main discussion, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the recent development that's shaken up the digital marketing world. Google has just announced major changes to its search algorithm, emphasizing user experience and page speed more than ever. This shift is blurring the lines between traditional SEO and paid advertising. And of course, that makes our topic today more relevant than ever. So as we explore the interplay between SEO and paid ads, keep in mind how these evolving search landscapes might impact your strategy. So let's dive into really understanding the competitive landscape. Now, you know what's wild is in today's digital landscape, your competitors are probably teaching you more than you actually realize. So let's talk about turning that competitive intel into pure gold. And I mean, who doesn't want to learn from their competitors' wins and losses? So Daniel, how can marketers use competitive intelligence to inform their SEO strategies?
Well, first of all, competitors' intelligence and competitors' data are a gold mine if you know how to use them.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the end, when you run a business and you run a digital marketing campaign for that business, you are not on a on a island and there is nobody else, or you are the only person that offering. No, in most of the niches, there are a lot of competitors. There are competitors that are very active. So you need to find your unique proposition. You need to find your unique clients, and you need to ensure that you will be able to advertise better to those clients. Now, speaking about competitors, we can get a lot of data from competitors. And just to name I'll start with the ones that are the most important one in an SEO strategy, and then we can go on to a digital marketing strategy. Basically, the keywords they are ranked for, and also these are good for PPC. You see exactly what keywords bring traffic, leads, and ultimately sale for the competitors. And then you can see exactly maybe there are some keywords that you are not targeting. Maybe there are some keywords that bring better ROI than the keywords that you are targeting. So it's ultimately important to see exactly from a marketing point what keywords the competitors are targeting. And of course, after that, you can decide, and I suppose we'll go more deep into that. You can decide if you target them with PPC, if you target them with SEO. That's for later. Other than that, besides the keywords, I'll also look into backlinks and digital PR, because just as you said, the Google algorithm changes. Right now, branding is more important than ever, and backlinks and citations and branding signals are more and more important. So definitely, I look into competitors to see exactly what backlinks they are getting, what articles they are posting, where they get mentions, what kind of partners they have. that's also really really important. You'll be the second thing that I look into.
Yeah.
Speaking about other, I think definitely I look into traffic sources, and fortunately we have tools like, I'll just name them now. There is like SEMrush, there is SimilarWeb. Also for organic traffic, we also have Ahrefs, exactly where the traffic comes from. And we should look there into their traffic sources to see exactly maybe there are some traffic sources that we are not aware of. And if we advertise there or we place some content there, we can also leverage that traffic.
Yeah.
And
So
one last thing
sure.
that I like to add about competitors is that when you now analyze competitors, I mean, most of the time you'll see that there are other competitors that you are not aware of. Maybe they have similar products. Maybe they have some products that can be with the products that you have, and the users maybe they prefer to have like to spend less, and they will go for an alternative product. So definitely keeping an eye on the competitors also can help you see if there is a new one in the market or there is one that's struggling in the market, so you can take their market share. So this will be the first three things that I look into.
So what I hear you say is the focus is certainly when it comes to competitor research is on the keywords that competitors are using, right? And identifying the volume of search toward those keywords. You talked about backlinking and other things like that. Are there any other cues that you can pick up from competitors that would help with your SEO strategy?
Definitely, I just named these top three. But if you have to look more, definitely I look also into content strategy to see exactly what kind of content they are creating for their audience. Also, I look on the email newsletters and their email communication, because if you have the emails they are sending, and there are tools for that, or you can simply sign up with a throwaway email on their newsletters. You can see exactly what kind of discount campaigns they are running, and you can be prepared. And that's really important, in the Black Friday and other holiday seasons when people are launching campaigns and discounts and everything. So if you know before, you can adjust your discounts properly. So you'll not be, for instance, if you offer a 5% discount and your competitor is offering like 25, guess who will get the most of the business in the Black Friday? So definitely, yeah, that's also something I look. And then social media, there are a lot of information on social media that you can look into. And again, if you see exactly what products they are targeting there, what audience are there, you can also then decide if you go after that audience. They are fighting on the social media channel, so you try a different approach, maybe with affiliate marketing, maybe with SEO, maybe with PPC.
Yeah. And so Patrick, from a paid advertising perspective, how to use competitor data to optimize your campaigns?
Yeah, so one tool that Daniel mentioned was SEMrush. I think from Google Ads and search ads point of view, it's a gold mine with finding which keywords are good, and it's also a good sort of discovery with long tail keywords. Those are the ones that end up usually like spearheading and scaling the campaigns. One thing that's free, and I advise everyone to do this since it is free and not having to spend your money on all these tools, is the ad libraries for each platform. So every single platform, even like Alibaba, has their own ad library. And specifically, what I do and some of my teammates do is like we'll look at like which ads are running, what messaging is out there, and then what sort of like promos and discounts are out there, especially during like Q4 when it gets super competitive. The other thing that I like to look at is just market research to see like if there's any trends or any affinities within our target audience. So SimilarWeb, as Daniel mentioned, is a great tool to do that. It kind of will show you sort of like referral traffic, and then also which audience members have certain affinities. And then Rand Fishkin, who founded Moz many years ago, he has a new tool called SparkTurtle, which is like super good for market research. And I've used that tool to like find affinity audiences that we've tested out in advertising campaigns. And I think like 70% of the time, those affinity audiences develop scale campaigns across different verticals.
That makes sense. And Daniel, for businesses that are small or they have limited resources, how can they conduct a meaningful competitive analysis on their SEO efforts?
But I like to add some context here. So
Sure.
competitive intelligence started many years ago when it was available only for countries and governments. When obviously they used the competitors were other countries, and then they wanted to find out what other countries are doing. So that it started as a governmental thing, and after that. When the corporation came into play, obviously they had the budget, and they also started to train people to understand competitive intelligence and to use. And right now we are, like, to say it, in the third phase, when with the help with the internet, because most of the information is on the internet and you can access it, most of it publicly, and we have the tools to get the data and aggregate the data. Right now, competitive intelligence is also available for small and medium businesses. So even someone that has, like, only, there is a one-man army, to put it like this, can still, with the right tools and the right knowledge, can create a competitive intelligence analysis and see exactly what the competitors are doing, so they can find their unique path. Now, to tell you about how to make it as easy as possible, definitely there are a lot of tutorials, and I will recommend again the SEMrush blog, and also there are other articles they can read. But regarding the tools, and to do it for as cheap as possible, again, SimilarWeb, they have some trials. SEMrush has some trial. Ahrefs, it's a good tool, which also it's like quite affordable. And I will recommend something that's from Neil Patel. It's Uber Suggest. You can access it at the app.neilpatel.com. And also has a lifetime version, and there you have information about the backlinks, about the keywords, about the paid traffic and everything. So yeah, with these tools, you can basically get the main things about your competitors. And after that, obviously, everything comes with experience, because in the end, I mean, most of us have access to data, but that data needs to be filtered and need to be connected to be able to actually extract quality intelligence that you can use and you put it into your business. Because in the end, I think there is a mention that we should do here. Competitive intelligence doesn't mean to copy your competitors, because if you copy what someone already is doing and is doing maybe better, or maybe is doing it already for some time, you may not have a high chance to do it. So that's why you have to understand what your competitors are doing, adapt to your business, and implement, so you can find your unique way of things.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree wholeheartedly, because just because a competitor has reached, a certain level of search visibility, you have to factor in obviously how long they've been doing it, right? The amount of sort of brand equity they have in the space, those signals that indicate that they are an expert in the space based on all the content, the engagements, and so on that they have. So it's certainly a consideration to focus on when leveraging a social media, a SEO campaign. But we also know that things change, right? The market changes quite frequently in terms of search volume, so on and so forth, right? So Patrick, in your experience, how often should marketers reassess their competitive landscape for paid ads in particular?
I think quarterly you have to. Monthly is probably too much of a frequency you could get into your own way, because everything on all the platforms now from an advertising standpoint is machine learning, and you need to give the machine sufficient volume of data to know if a tactic is working or not. So I think quarterly is sort of the right way to reassess if what you're doing is the right tactic. And then if it's not, like getting those learnings and pivoting. The other thing that I would say that's like super underrated is looking at, this goes back to the previous question, but looking at reviews, I think is like super important. A lot of times when you review your competitors, you get nuggets of information that you probably won't find out on the website or any of those ad libraries or the other tools. A lot of times there's complaints there that you can kind of capitalize on that messaging standpoint. So I just wanted to bring that up from the previous question. One thing that, now going back to this question, I think one thing, besides, looking at quarterly is also like what are your optimization schedule like too? I think like that's super important. Overall, like the overarching decision should be quarterly, but the optimization schedule you want to make sure is in line with what your sort of client is like wants to accomplish.
Yeah. And I really like what you mentioned earlier about the reviews. I think that's often something that isn't fully leveraged. And so what automatically came to mind for me is if you research your competitor and in their review section on their website or on wherever, if their customers are complaining about, I don't know, their customer service hours, then you can create an ad that basically draws attention that you have 24-hour customer service, and you won't leave your client or your customer hanging, right, in order to get more traffic and so on. So I definitely like that tidbit there.
I'd like
Sure.
to add something regarding the reviews, because Patrick did an awesome job mentioning the reviews, and we actually used in a couple of campaigns review analysis. and we did some sentiment analysis by getting the competitors' reviews, like from Trustpilot and Google My Business sources, and we made an Excel and put them in ChatGPT. And ChatGPT is a great tool that we both forgot to mention that it's free and can be used for competitive intelligence. You can get like SWOT analysis, all kind of analysis by just entering the data, and you will get all the analysis and the important things. So basically for a client, that's exactly what we did. It was a highly competitive niche. So we need to find a unique way to target that product so the clients will come to us, considering that there were a lot of competitors. So basically we took all the reviews of the competitors and we wanted to see exactly where they are lacking, so our client to be able to be better on those points. So, and we find out the support. Obviously everyone is complaining about the support. And another important thing, it was about the payment methods, because most of those clients that were not happy with the competitors, they said about that they want different payment methods, or they want various payment methods. So that's why we said to our client, hey, you should add more payment methods because you will get more business. And that's exactly what happened. They improved the support, they offered better support, they offered more payment ways, and they got more business, even business from those competitors, because people that were unhappy with the competitors came to this client of mine because they finally could process the payment with their different cards and other methods.
That makes sense. All right, so let's get real about data for a minute. We're all swimming in it, right? But here's the thing. It's not about having all the data. It's about having the right data, right? And more importantly, it's knowing what the heck to do with it. So Patrick, what key performance indicators do you prioritize when evaluating the success of paid ad campaigns? And how do these differ from SEO metrics?
It's a great question. I think like they should be aligned with SEO metrics because I look at the marketing campaign as like very holistic, multi-touch, multi-channels. Attribution is another another wild thing to talk about, but usually I think like every single channel should be complementing each other, and they should have the same primary metrics, right? So you have the same end goal. Typically, my clients are usually concerned about like lead gen or sales, so like it's either we got to deliver the highest, or we have to deliver the highest like average order value, or we have to deliver the lowest cost per lead. It's what we're sort of under that type of pressure. But what I like to look at is those two. But if I do have like the right client that has like really good data historically, like the customer lifetime value, I think is super important and something it's talked about a lot, but I feel like it's underutilized by a lot of brands, big and small. If you can get the customer lifetime value, if you have everyone always talks about email is going to go out of business, but email is kind of, I think, the lifeline to everything. Brands that have done well with emails and CRMs and first party data, that really like helps everything with paid ads and then also SEO too, because then you end up having different personas and customer profiles for that data to leverage. And then also why it's super important too is because, as I mentioned earlier, all of the ad platforms now are machine learning. So what that means is you're only as good as your data, no matter how big or small. If you're feeding it inaccurate data or wrong data, then your campaigns are going to be all over the place. They're going to fluctuate from week to week. So if you can get good, clean data and update that in the right frequent levels and, relay that information to whether it's Meta or Google or a different platform, your campaigns will be a lot better. And then the customer lifetime metric that I mentioned, which is kind of the holy grail, that could be worked into sort of the data and help with better results.
That makes sense. And Daniel, how can marketers use data to identify gaps in their SEO strategy that might be filled with paid advertising?
Well, I just like to add that unlike Patrick, that with paid ads should deliver results really fast or faster. In SEO, we played the game a little bit longer, but in the end, we still have to produce results and have a positive ROS, because in the end, it's about money that you invest and money that you get after. Now, speaking about the gaps, definitely competitors' intelligence definitely help you to find out exactly what kind of backlinks your competitors has and you don't have, so there is an opportunity for you to go there. You can also see, going back to the keywords, what keywords they are targeting and they are getting positive results, and you can also find out which you don't have and then create content and try to go after those those keywords, and in the end improve your SEO strategy. So
I
the main two ones that I'll mention will be backlinks and keywords.
Yeah, I just wanted to jump in too. Also, I think the content piece is huge. I can't like emphasize that enough. There's a lot of like noise out there, but I think like the brands that do update their content like pretty frequently with the information that the sort of customers are looking for, or even prospects, like those are the ones that end up ranking high and within the Google search engine. And then the other thing you got to think about, there's a new, us marketers, there's always buzzwords, right? So
Yeah.
GEO now, right? So SEO and GEO. GEO is basically like the generative AI engine optimization. So there's a lot of talks now with the importance of like schema markups. So you got to make sure that when you're updating your content frequently, like the schema markups are kind of interpreting that too. So then you can be a part of the an output in some of these sort of like AI models that they have out there.
Yeah, and for those who don't know what a schema markup is, let us know.
Yeah, so schema markup, I like to try to illustrate it. The best way to say it, so have you ever, like, let's say your favorite athlete, right? I'm a big sports fan. Let's say I'm looking up for LeBron James. So if you're on Google and you look up LeBron James, usually there's a side picture with like all this information on him. Basically, like someone has pretty much, it's easy to do too. Like there's a schema markup site that Google has where you can sort of input that information to create like those sort of like knowledge panels about important things or products that you offer.
And I like to add a little bit of things here. Basically, on schema markup, how I say it, it's like translating your written content, video
Mm-hmm.
content into code. And there are various codes for schema that you can use. And as Patrick mentioned, there is persona schema, there are for books, for authors, for places, for reviews. And to make it like all this together to Google to understand better your website, you put this information using the schema code that it's like a machine code, but obviously it's not that complicated. I just want to make it. But the idea is that having that content in a format that Google reads very, very good, very well, then it can understand your content better and obviously post it and show it in the search results better.
Yep. And I always see clients struggling with the classic instant gratification versus long-term gains dilemma, right? When it
Mm-hmm.
comes to both SEO and PPC or paid media. But let's figure out how we can communicate the best plan of action for achieving results with a mix of SEO and PPC. I know certain industries would have different methods and strategies, but in general, how do we balance the two?
It's a great question. I would not recommend doing one without the other. They're so vital and go hand in hand. Typically, you need SEO, right? Because your site is your digital storefront. It's open 24/7. Anyone can go to. You need to keep up with all the content that's being generated on a daily basis, like throughout the web. So I say like that SEO portion and to get visibility on the first page of Google for like certain key terms. And to be honest, there's going to be certain key terms you're just not going to be able to rank for. So identifying like trendy new keywords and those sort of like long tail keywords are going to be your bread and butter. And then so you want to build like the awareness there, and then set up like based on the market research and how your website user behavior is, like setting up different like sort of funnels, because something that's super important, and if you pay attention to any platform out there, they're really big on user experience. That's what all the algorithms are built for, user experience. So making sure like that user experience there, that's going to help your SEO and generate more high quality traffic to the site. And then the better high quality traffic you have, like from a tactical standpoint, even with paid advertising, you could retarget like all those people with special offers if it's high quality. Like say you have a good high quality traffic on your website, and from a paid advertising standpoint, if you want instant gratification, like one simple tactic out the gate could be like retargeting a set of users with a promo on that. So I just wanted to illustrate like that with how organic SEO and paid could work together on that side of things. And then the other thing too is you want to like get people to sign up to newsletters and sort of nurture them that way. Just don't like hard sell them. Let them learn a little bit more about you. That sort of like informational part of it is key. And then later on, you can use paid advertising to sort of leverage them. Like these algorithms are good once the pixels are on the sides, kind of figuring out who the right base is. And if you didn't hard sell them in the beginning, most of the time they will eventually buy for you.
Yeah. And so for certain clients that may want to leverage SEO and paid media simultaneously, would you recommend a strategy being focusing first on the keywords that they're looking to target and then begin to create content and more activations to build momentum for their SEO and then placing ads for those keywords until the amount of traffic sort of catches up? And then at that point, you can probably pull back from your paid media as you would already have the momentum of organic traffic coming to your website. Is there any instances where this should or would not be the case?
Absolutely. I think if you have a new product that like absolutely no one has learned like knows about, right? So you see this a lot of times with, app sort of products, right? Like they just want signups like right away. I think that'd be an instant where, SEO does kind of take a backseat to paid. Like you have to find a creative way on the paid side. It's kind of like what you said, the instant gratifications, the signups. That's usually how a lot of the owners of these new sort of apps get funding from VCs out there. So yeah, figuring out a creative way on the advertising side to generate those signups, and then it's kind of backwards, but the SEO then comes after that once you got enough signups, so you can start sort of nurturing them with specific content about your app and how to best leverage it.
Yep.
And there are a couple of things that I like to add here.
Sure.
Basically, we are doing SEO, but it doesn't mean that we don't use PPC. In fact, PPC is great to be used with SEO. And think like this: you invest in SEO, you create content, a lot of pieces of content, you create backlinks, and then finally you start to rank for the keywords that you aim for, and you see that those keywords do not convert for you, doesn't bring business. You invested so much money, so much time for nothing. Instead, you can run some PPC campaigns and you can see exactly what's the user behavior. Because PPC will just put you instantly a number on the first place for that keyword and will bring you the business. Now you need to see, of course, you pay for it. But the thing is that you'll see instantly, you'll have the data, how the user interact with your content, how they interact with your offer, and then you'll understand and you'll decide if you want to go on the longer run and play the SEO game, as long as those keywords are bringing you clients or not. And another thing that I like to add is about there are some industries, like for instance, there are some legal industries where you cannot run PPC and you have to do only SEO, or for instance, other niches like specific niches where again you cannot run PPC ads and you have to go with SEO. But other than those industries, definitely I see all the advertising campaign like a mix between PPC and SEO.
Yeah. And those industries would probably be like, a special category industries, cannabis,
Exactly.
porn. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Those kind of things where you cannot run. Even for instance, I was working with a client that was in, let's call it like this, airsoft toys. I don't want to say the real word, and we cannot run PPC ads, so we have to go only with SEO. The thing is that if we could not run the PPC ads, neither the competitors couldn't. So it was only a fight, to put it like this, only from the stand of view.
And I know that with all the clients that we have worked with, I'm wondering, have you guys noticed that there is an increase in PPC and SEO efficacy based upon having paid ads to accompany that search ranking? Whether it's just from a user experience, they see the organic or they see the sponsored content as well as the organic. Is there some correlation between them seeing both of those placements to an increase in conversions?
That's a great question, Juntae. We actually have internal data on some of our partners that use both, and we've seen the ones that do both. There's sort of a 15% increase on average, like with doing both. So there are gains there. I think you highlighted something like really important. Is because when they see the sponsor, sometimes like it ends up there's that multi-channel sort of theme again. Like they end up going to your website, going to your Facebook to learn more. So there are gains on that side of things. And then one thing I wanted to bring up too that's kind of gained momentum. So Google local service ads like were only offered to, I mean, probably like half a dozen to a dozen sort of like verticals before, and they've kind of opened it up the last few months. So instead of just like contractors, you're seeing like it offered to, I'd say, like home improvement services now. And what's interesting about that sort of like campaign within Google is they have a Google guaranteed, and it sits atop of your organic results and your like traditional paid search results too. So I think we'll probably see some interesting like decisions too about like how to allocate your budget from like SEO services to traditional Google services versus like Google local ads sort of budget too going forward.
Agreed. Now let's dive in a little bit and talk some more about content specifically. So whether you're team SEO or team paid ads, we all know content is king, right? But the $1 million question is, how do we create content that works for both channels? So let's dig into that. And I know, Daniel, you have worked with some clients that had created obviously content and so on, but what are some of the tactics with regard to content creation that you know works well, and how have you applied this to organic search and paid copy?
Well, yeah, definitely content, it's still important. And right now we're not talking only about written content. We should also talk about video content, and we have long form like on YouTube, like short term, on TikTok. So definitely, yeah, content, it's still the king.
Yep.
The problem is that right now with the AI, everyone can create content. So content, it's like a commodity. The good news are that quality content is still something that if you create, you can still get one step further and get more clients. But again, it should be like unique content, and you should prove that you have the expertise, that you have the trust, that you have the authority to put that content there, and Google will reward you for it. So what my first advice would be definitely, when you use AI, just use it for the first version of the article, where you get the main information, and then every content writer or someone that posts content on their website should add their own unique views, their experience, their case studies on whatever they have, so they can make their content unique. So it's important to create unique content, because again, right now I think we are in a generative answers where bots already scrape the websites and they just give the results, and you may not even know exactly which website they got the content from. So again, what is important is to create high quality content that will be picked up by those robots like ChatGPT, like Gemini, and they will reference your website as a good source so people can find out more on that. Speaking about content, again, the first thing, as I told you, you should be unique and you should prove the expertise, the trust, and the authority. And another thing, obviously, will be to create content that, I mean, on your website, it has like similar topic. So you should create content that it's connected with each other. So, for instance, think that there is a visitor that maybe wanna buy, let's say, a new TV, and it's go to your website. Definitely, if he starts to read content, he will be interested how to choose the TV, what kind of software it should have, how it should install it maybe in their own house. And as long as you have all this content on your website, they will start to read more and more. They will connect with your website. They will get the trust of your website, and in the end, it's more likely they will purchase from you because they already trust you.
Got it. And how would you overlay a paid strategy? I mean, would you also have a remarketing campaign for those individuals that had consumed the content?
Obviously, it would be foolish not to write a remarketing campaign for the people that already came on your website. They got your first step of the trust. And if they leave, if you do not have their email address, or if you don't have any way to contact them, you just lost money for the content created, for the ads if they come from an ad. So definitely there should be as many ways possible. And you mentioned the remarketing to get in touch with the client. If not, to have an email list there, or if not, at least maybe to subscribe to your social media channels so you can re-engage with them later on. Yeah. Because in the end, and I think Patrick here has data from the paid ads. I remember I've read an article that at the moment are necessary for like 7 or 8 points of contact with a website till someone actually get the cards out and make a purchase. If you lost them from the first one, they will be long gone till they will be on the step 7 to actually give the money.
Yeah, one thing I would want to add about the content too, I think a lot of brands feel like they should only just post like a blog article to their website, and they don't really think about the distribution, right? You have,
Oh yeah.
again, I feel like I'm like beating a dead horse with the multi-channel thing today, but the distribution part of that content is super important. So if you're on LinkedIn, which most companies are, like you should have some sort of like, long form sort of LinkedIn style version of that content. Same thing for Facebook, same thing for Instagram. That sort of distribution is like important because you can write the best article in the world, but if you're only laying that in kind of like one sort of channel, like you're losing out on an opportunity. And I think that's like something that's hurt brands. And then in terms of, you asked about like how you can layer onto it. I think if you have a super popular organic article, you can go about it in 2 ways on the page side. You can either boost the post to your audience, so then like the larger percentage of them get it. On Facebook, as you know, like the bigger the brand is, like you're probably only reaching like 1% if best of your total audience. So if you have a popular piece of content, like I would boost that instead of like going to ads manager, like it's not a hard sell. And then the second part also is if it is like, something like a promotional thing or a big event or a showroom or something, then you can go in ads manager or some other paid media sort of route with that. But yeah, I think like the distribution part is like just a lost tactic that I see a lot of brands make a big mistake of, and they're losing a lot of like traffic on the table from that standpoint.
Yeah, no,
And what
I was going to say, I agree that many brands focus on are not focusing enough on distribution for sure of their content. And I would also add, I believe that they're not focused on the amplification or promotion of that content as well.
yeah.
And, I always say to clients that if you are, however, how much time or resources, triple that and focus on the promotion of that content. So whether that is, if you spent 1 hour creating that content, you should have 3 hours of promotional time to amplify that content. If you've spent $100 on that content, you should allocate 300 toward the amplification and promotion of that content. That could be, of course, through ads. It could be through social media engagements in different communities, answering questions, and using that piece of content as a resource for community members. It also could be repurposing it for a video. It could be, podcast, right, as an example. And so these are all the ways in which you're able to focus on promotion, because oftentimes many clients are creating content for content's sake. They get stuck on this hamster wheel, or they're just continuing to create content, but they don't focus enough time on the amplification and promotion of that content. So I think that's certainly key if you want to win, both for SEO and for paid media. Right.
And what I like to add about the amplification repurposing, because that's something really important. Definitely, if you spend the time to research a piece of content and you get high quality information, obviously you should make it like a podcast and a video, long form video, short form video, because people consume information in different ways. Some of them are mostly into videos, while others still prefer to read. Others are mostly in like infographics or images. Others prefer to listen to podcast. So as long as you have the content, obviously you should repurpose it in as many channels as possible so you can get the visitors and then ultimately the clients.
Hey, you know what? I think a lot of brands they get stuck on that. I created this piece of content, it posted on this day, it needs to go viral within a week, right? A lot of times, honestly, like, and I've seen this with so many brands, that it's an old piece of content, like sometimes a few years ago, sometimes 5 or 6 months ago, like that sort of ends up driving like the surge of business because they were kind of ahead of the curve. So that's something to consider too. Don't just judge it on such a short period of time. Like it's not going away. That once that content is out there, it sort of lives on forever.
Yeah. Now, I want to talk about, we talked a little bit about budgeting for content creation and leveraging that budget, at least 3Xing the budget when you're focusing on promotion and amplification. Now, regardless if you have a startup budget or you're managing millions, the principles of getting the most bang for your buck is still the same, right? So Patrick, what strategies do you use to improve the cost efficiency of paid ad campaigns?
That's a great question. So, one of the first things I talk to like partners about, even like people we pitch, like I want to understand their business, like what has worked historically, and what's sort of those returns on. Because we deal with a lot of local businesses, sometimes the budgets are like super small, not ideal, right? So there's more pressure to be efficient. So, based on that information, I kind of go for like the channel that has done well, and then try to look for also like patterns like during so the seasonality part I think is like super important. Like what sort of have been the months or the time of day, like are those any sort of trends or patterns that we can kind of leverage to get the most the most squeeze the most dollars out of this and get a great return. So like if they have that historical data, I usually like to do an analysis on that and say, hey, like this is sort of our 30, 60, 90 game plan and like how we can get the most out of it. If we can deliver you an ROI better than you've had historically, can we get X amount of budget to either help scale what we're doing or like introduce a new channel to that'll help complement this sort of campaign?
Yeah. And so when you look at paid search versus social and so on, what are some minimums that you found, right, are needed to be successful in search and to be successful on social?
Yeah, that's a great question. I know I worked with a lot of franchise businesses since I've been at AdMax, and it's kind of challenging because you have one big brand usually in it, but then at the individual level, like each owner or the sort of geo that they're located in is sort of determines that. But I would say like minimum you should hate to repeat you, but it is kind of a 3x thing. Like I think like for every like dollar that you're generating, you sort of like need that sort of amount in advertising to go a long way. So like from a ROAS standpoint, like our campaigns, we want to be like at a 4 or 5x from a paid campaign standpoint, like to make it like work because that's just the marketing part, but then there's also costs like that the client. So that's where a lot of agencies get lost at. Like there's even additional costs, right? What's the true like marketing expenditure of that? But I try to like back into that math to make everything work.
Yeah.
To get like the right budget, but typically for franchise level people, I think like 5,000. If I had to say a number, that's been a sort of sweet spot. And then for like larger brands, that like I'm talking about like Fortune 500 brands at this point. Like usually I've seen like at least like 2.5 million, like for them to compete against their competitors.
Got it. And that's on a monthly basis.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Just make sure everyone knows that there. And then when and continuing on the conversation or the theme about efficiencies. So obviously when you have an ad campaign, there's a portion of the campaign that's allocated toward testing, at least for most campaigns. How long should you be in test mode?
For me, ongoing, right? Because the algorithms and the platforms and user behavior change. There's also new initiatives that these different platforms will have and introduce, like that are not in like articles right now. Like they just pop up one day on the platform. So typically, I've always advised my partners to have a 10% test and learn sort of budget, like for the total marketing campaign for the year. And that's been like a pretty good gateway to get them just to start on it. And then if we've had good success with different testing mechanisms, that's usually increased by like another like 5 to 10% for our partners.
Okay. And now pivoting, looking at SEO in particular, Daniel, how could businesses measure the ROI of their SEO efforts?
Well, again, SEO it's a long game, so definitely the results are not delivered as fast as with the PPC advertising or paid media advertising. But in the end, it's about how much you spend in content, how much you spend in backlinks, and what sales you get from this channel. Again, definitely when you build content and you build backlinks, you also create brand engagement, you also create brand notices. So definitely it's not like 100% accurate. I mean, the investment in SEO go on also all other different marketing departments, to call it like this. But again, what I'll use for SEO, uh, I mean, from time to time, definitely we look into the traffic, we look into the keyword rankings to see exactly if we have improvements or not. We look into the conversion to see exactly if the traffic that we are bringing are getting enough conversions, and we are on a positive ROI. And then obviously we try to optimize as much as possible to improve that.
One one aspect with SEO that I've always used too for like smaller clients that don't really know how it works is that within Google Analytics, like there's these comparison sort of reports. It doesn't tell you like who the exact competitor is, but based on like the traffic levels, like you get there, you have like sort of a range of traffic that you sort of compare it to. So I've kind of used that as a mechanism. Like this is where we started at. This is how like we grew compared to those competitors too. And then Daniel and I had mentioned earlier too, like similar web. I think like still in like some competitive metrics from there to show like how you've grown in conjunction with them. It's been super
And
effective for us.
SEMrush and
Yep.
Ahrefs, another good tool where that specifically talking about organic ranking and SEO. You can get some more high quality information there. Even like brand searches, so you can see exactly how many. If for instance, if you build a brand and you see that the brand searches gets a higher percentage of the traffic, then you are on a good path. It seems that that brand it starts to be recognized and people search for it.
That makes sense. And I know we talked a lot about different tools that you guys are able to use. So in this segment, it's all about tools that you cannot live without. So I would like each of you to share some of these tools that you can't live without. These could be actual tools, this could be processes or tactics or techniques that you apply to either your professional or even personal lives.
Okay. Well, I can start then.
Sure.
From an SEO perspective. Definitely speaking about the process, every time we talk with the client about how the SEO process will work, we'll explain to them that the first thing that we'll do will be a complete SEO audit. And then we
Hmm.
look into the technical matters, we look into the user experience, backlinks, keywords, local SEO. Right now we also added AI overview and Chat GPT and DeepSeek and AI to understand if that tools see them as a brand, and if they when someone asks the right questions about that brand, if they get in a positive matter. We do like, what are the top 10 services in your niche, and if they are not listed there, it means that we need to work on that as well. So definitely the SEO audit. Then we go into the competitive analysis to see exactly how we navigate, and because in the end, it's in SEO you have to look into the competitors and see what they are doing, how much they are spending, and choose your battles very carefully, and then try to get as many winning moves as possible. And obviously after that is the SEO strategy, where we select what keywords are we after, what kind of content we will create, what kind of digital PR we are going to do, and we also start implementing. Now
So
going into the
what are the
tools.
specific what are the specific
Yeah, yeah.
tools?
That's why I just wanted to go
Mhm.
into the tools. One tool that I like for technical audit is Screening Frog. It gets a lot of information about the websites, like all the technicals, and you
Hmm.
can also connect data with Google Analytics, with Google Search Console. So you can have like a dashboard, what kind of content it's performing, which one started to not perform anymore. So you obviously need to look into that. So definitely Screaming Frog, it's an awesome tool that I'll go. And after that, obviously, there'll be the tools that I already speaking about, like SEMrush or Ahrefs, similar web also, it's a good one. And another one that I'm using, it's called Competitors app,
Hmm.
where you can enter your competitors there, and you can monitor them to see the example, the social media posts they are doing, the keywords they are going after. Also, you can look into their email campaigns and some other things. So yeah, that are the tools that I'll recommend. But if not, if someone doesn't want to spend anything, just Google Search Console and Google Analytics are good tools to get some high quality information about how your website performs, and then expand from there with other advanced tools.
That's right. That's right. Patrick, what about you?
Yeah, for me, I'll kind of break these down into categories. So,
Sure.
like market research, I think like Spark Turtle is super excellent with you understanding like your audience from totality, and then also the sort of nugget within Spark Turtle is the affinity. I think like now because there's so much noise, it's the affinity part is great for like trying to establish partnerships, both from a paid and organic standpoint. And then in terms of like just staying in the news, I guess this could fall under market research too. I subscribe to the Morning Brew newsletter. I think it's great from an economic standpoint, just let you know what's going on in different verticals. Marketing Drive being a great resource as well. And then from like a messaging standpoint, this is like totally free. Every single platform out there, whether Meta, Microsoft Ads, Google, like they all have ad library platforms. I think like it's free. If you just like look at different competitors, you'll see like some common themes with messaging. Great for promos, especially during Q4 when the auctions get a little bit busier. And then from an analytics standpoint, I think like GA4 is still like king, even though people hate it. And there's been some challenges there. And then, lastly, I think the platform tools themselves. I think a lot of people are quick to kind of abandon them, but if you like take time to really learn like what every sort of report function is like and how to like layer on different things, like those are like super great. I had a partner like yesterday ask me like she's like, I can't find YouTube shorts in the placement, so I was kind of just showing her that you can actually layer on things or do like a contain this word sort of thing to find different things. So I brought up like all the YouTube shorts, but just really like spending time on the platforms themselves can save you a lot of bucks too, because like all of those sort of analysis are there. And then as Daniel mentioned, from an AI standpoint, I think ChatGPT is great. I actually do recommend the paid version because you get a better model out of it, and it opens up different sort of GPTs that you can create yourself. Perplexity also great for an AI standpoint. And I don't use those just for like copywriting or ideation for different creative sort of things. I use it from a data analysis standpoint too. Sometimes like that's why I said the higher model for the paid version, like that thing is true. It saves me like an hour to analyze a report and gives me like some high level things. So those would be the tools that I can't live without today.
Awesome. And now we're at that point of the show where we provide shameless plugs. So I want to make sure that you guys let our listeners know where they can find you, what you're offering, and of course, how they can get in touch. So Daniel, why don't you go first?
Okay. So yeah, as you guys know, yes, I'm Daniel Stanica. I run Competico Agency, and there we are offering SEO services and competitive intelligence services, where we look into the competitors and find the winning moves that our clients can implement and improve their ROI. So competico.com or danielstanica.com, they can go there. We also write content like tutorials, so just you said, because people want to find out more and see how they can do it on themselves. That's where they can find me, or if they have any other questions, I'll be really happy to tell them more about competitive intelligence and SEO.
All right, and what about you, Patrick?
Yep. So AdMax Local is the agency I work for. AdMaxLocal.com is our website. If you're interested in our services, which include paid media, SEO, and we also do a landing page like redesigns, which is super important for paid media campaigns. We focus more on like local businesses and franchise businesses, but there are white label solutions that we offer too. And then you can get at us at info@admaxlocal.com. We do offer free consultations and audits. And if you want to keep in touch with me, Patrick Hodgson is my profile on LinkedIn, so I'm pretty easy to find.
All right. And of course, I'm your host, Juntae DeLane, founder at Digital DeLane, a full-service digital marketing agency where we help to bring new brands, campaigns, and ideas to life. You can, of course, visit us at digitaldelane.com to learn more about our services. But listen, thank you for tuning into this episode of The Brand Behavior. We hope you've gained valuable insights into balancing SEO and paid advertising strategy. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform and visit us at our website, digitaldelane.com/podcast. And if you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review and share it with your network. Until next time, keep optimizing those marketing campaigns. Over and out.
Thanks, Juntae.